Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be, and welcome to an extra interview of Final Cut. Today, I'm joined by a lady who, as far as I'm concerned, has set the benchmark for wedding speeches. Ladies and gentlemen, actress, entrepreneur, among other things, and the most passionate bride I've ever seen in my life, Rachele Brooke Smith.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming on. Just before we begin, though, I must ask, of all the weddings I've been to or seen, you have been the most passionate and emotional bride or groom that I've ever seen. Saying they found the one they want to be with, and and usually people would say that, and they're not quite sure whether they mean it or not because there's no passion or emotion behind it. But oh my God, the minute that video started, you were so emotional straight away. Your voice was breaking. I was like, oh my God, why can't everyone do a wedding speech like this? So, have you pretty much set the bar for all future wedding speeches?
Oh man. Well, thank you so much. And I was just honestly speaking from the heart, and every word I said, I really meant. And I feel like I only have that deep passion because I've gone through so many really intense heartbreaks that gave me I really believe sometimes pain can be one of our greatest superpowers. And the pain that I had associated with unhealthy relationships enabled me to learn these really powerful lessons and become so passionate about what it means and what it looks like to create a healthy relationship. And every day I just feel so freaking grateful that I literally feel like I wished my now husband into reality. But I wouldn't be able to have that deep appreciation without the past pain that I went through. So I really do. One of my biggest passions is to help disrupt the perception of pain, because it can be one of our greatest teachers.
Mm-hmm. How is married life treating you, by the way? We treat you well.
Honestly, it honestly doesn't feel very different to me. It was so stressful to plan our wedding because we did like a 4-day, almost it was like a retreat experience. A lot of people that were there honestly said it felt like one of the most like life-changing, transformative retreats that they had gone on. And we planned it like that. Like we have a company together called Relationship Renegades that focuses on creating healthy relationships in a really holistic, fun, creative way. And, it's just interesting because it was so stressful to plan the wedding. The wedding was just like absolute dream come true. It was just so magical that I think almost honestly after I felt like I had a little bit of after it was all over, I had a little bit of just like sadness. I was like, wow, all that whirlwind of just so much work, so much effort, so much intense emotions and love and being surrounded by everyone that you loved. And then all of a sudden it was just like, and that's over and that's done. And we have to remind each other often. I'm like, oh, you're my husband now. Like I'm your wife now. Like it's a fun, playful thing that we have. But I think the core of our relationship is play. And I think what I'm just so grateful is to have I work so hard to create, to know how to, and to sustain and to create a healthy, supportive, playful relationship. And, been through some pretty challenging things recently, and to have somebody in my life who will just hold me when I cry and knows how to support through very challenging times and also knows how to lift me up. But also that we both understand that it's our job to create our own happiness. It's our own personal job. Like it's not his job to make me happy. It's not my job to make him happy. We just support each other through it all. And there becomes the more that we both take care of ourselves, the better we both are.
Yeah, definitely. I can say this because I've been through not exactly what you've been through, but I've been through something similar. And my fiance, who is also the producer of my lovely podcast, has been there through me through thick and thin. I don't know where I'd be without her. I don't know what I'd be if it wasn't for her. So that's actually one thing we share in common anyway. We're so grateful for our other halves.
Yes, that's so special. I think, when you've gone through it, it's just like anything. The only way to really appreciate, like deeply, deeply, deeply appreciate something is contrast, right? That's why I think contrast is in whatever way, shape, or form that shows up in someone's life, whether it's through all different sorts of heartbreak, whether it's friendship, family relationships, other intimate relationships, friendships, like just this deep appreciation, I really feel like really comes through a certain amount of pain associated with the other side.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, I must ask this. There is a 7-minute video on your YouTube channel that you did 3 years ago, and you know which one I'm on about immediately. Yes. It's called How I Manifested the Lead Role in the Sequel to a Film That Changed My Life. Now, I did watch it many a time, and obviously you were describing a journey from your childhood to where you are now. It's quite, for some people, it is a bit, it's not so much hard to listen to, but listening to what you went through, it was heartbreaking, and it must have been painful as well. What made you want to do a video like that?
Man, I think it's so important to share our struggles, especially like I take it as such a responsibility. I feel so grateful to have been in so many films and TV shows, and especially to have had that experience in my life where I literally manifested, whatever you want to call that, the lead role in the sequel to the film that changed my life as a little girl. Literally my childhood dream, the thing that everybody told me was impossible. Like literally when I saw a movie that changed my life, I was like, that's what I want to do. Everyone laughed in my face, told me I was crazy. Moved to LA when I was 18, didn't know what I was doing, didn't know anybody, didn't have any ties to the entertainment industry. Was really hard, a fight with my family because my whole family is a family of doctors and scientists. And I'm like, I want to be an actress. And I really wanted to share that story. And, so much of the work that I do, and like I do a lot of motivational speaking and put out a lot of content online to help support people when it comes to mental health, mindset, wellness, motivation, and to help them understand that like, I'm no different than them. We all have these challenges, these struggles in life. And to me, I've always been so fascinated with the hero's journey. That's why I love playing hero type characters and hero movies. And because I think we can find ourselves really great hero movies. We can find ourselves in those heroes, and to help people understand that, when people think about heroes, they think about these people that have, they just have these superpowers and they don't really have any challenges. And it's like this weird facade that we create in our mind. But in reality, heroes have to go through the hardest things. They have to go through the biggest challenges, like shit's blowing up in their face and they don't know how to handle it. And, imagine if you were to go see like some hero movie, like Superman, and it gets so bad. And all of a sudden Superman just like crawls under a rock and cries. And it's like, I can't do it. Like he'd no longer be the hero. He'd no longer be Superman. And so I just love to help people understand that like you are the writer, director, actor, producer of your own life's movie. And when you can see your life as this story, this movie that you're creating, and that you're playing all these different parts within it, that we can take our power back in the power of choice and learning from these hero stories and like how they overcame their challenges and seeing ourselves in them. And so really wanted to share my story of kind of my hero's journey of making my impossible possible, and in hopes that, and really sharing from very vulnerable places about like different things that I went through as a kid, and how the worst things, the things that I thought were the worst things that ever happened to me, ended up being some of the best things that ever happened to me. And how when we understand that concept, it can help us through those times when they feel so hard, to look for the lesson and to find that lesson, and to find that hero within, and to really become the hero of our own stories.
So inspirational, definitely. I'm sure. You're making me emotional. Sorry. You tell a story so good. Why have you never narrated anything?
Why have you never? What did you say?
Why have you never narrated anything? I bet you would make. I don't know if you know this or not, but we actually have like, I can't remember what it's exactly called, but it's kind of like where celebrities read bedtime stories to kids. It's on the BBC. I forget what it's called. Some famous faces have done it. Tom Hardy's done it. I can imagine you being great at doing that.
Oh, I would love to do something like that. I would love that.
Bless you. The one thing, obviously, that we do have in common is that you found your inspiration in movies. I find inspiration in movies where I actually learn more from movies than real life actually teaches me. So why do you think Center Stage ended up being such a pivotal turning point in your life, both in as you as a person, and obviously as far as your career went?
Man, so powerful. Well, I think, I grew up a really competitive gymnast, and I was really unhealthy and unhappy in that world. And, when I saw Center Stage, the first film, I was going through a really traumatic time because I just shattered my hand. I had finally got up the courage to quit gymnastics, which was my whole life. It was like my identity, who I thought that I was. I really didn't, it was hard for me to understand what life meant without it. And I felt really lost and confused and didn't really have a purpose or a passion or a dream anymore because it was always gymnastics for me. And so when I saw Center Stage, the first movie, it was this whole concept of like, oh, I could do that with my life. Like I could, and the biggest point was that I never really loved gymnastics. What I really loved about it was the performing, the performing aspect of it. And in that movie, it tells this story of this girl who, everyone told her she was never going to be good enough, pretty enough, talented enough, thin enough. And her own hero's journey and finding out how she could actually achieve her impossible in a creative way that nobody else really could see or do, but how in the end it ended up being so much better for her and her using her own unique gifts, talents, and strengths in a way that like other people from traditional mindsets couldn't see. And I think that just so related to me because I was never, as a gymnast and also in my dance career, I was never the best at a technical standpoint, but I could perform the shit out of anything. Like I've just been a performer and being able to access these deep emotions that I have and showcase them through both like dance as well as acting and all this stuff. And, I think I just related so much to the story. And then the crazy part was, really getting to play the lead role in the sequel to that film. The sequel was such a mimic of my own life, like, which was nuts. Even when I got the script and I had to go through this grueling audition process, and being so close yet so far from your childhood dream, it was just one of those. And I had vision boards of Center Stage. I had goal every day, would write down like, I'm going to be in a movie like Center Stage one day. I'm going to do this one day. Like I would cry myself to sleep watching the first Center Stage, just trying to remind me of why I moved to LA when I was 18, it was to help me through how homesick I was and how hard it was and how lonely I was. And so just the fact that I was able to end up playing that role just felt honestly so miraculous. And also I just think if anybody listening, I was just a little girl from Phoenix, Arizona, like I have a lot of fans who reach out to me and they're like, Rach, I don't know what I can do. I'm just like a little kid from Arkansas or wherever, it doesn't matter like where you are. Sometimes I think we feel so small and our dreams feel so big. But if I've kind of made up this mantra of to let go of outcomes that I can't control and to just focus on doing the brave thing. And every time you do the brave thing, you win. Like maybe not right away, but in the long run, like if you just always do the brave thing, even when you're scared, and really trying to let go of the outcomes you can't control because you can't control them. But what I did in my story was literally like, I just kept trying to do the brave thing. I kept trying to do things that light me up. And follow those deep dreams and desires. Because I really feel like we have these deep dreams and desires within us for a reason. Like they're there for a reason, and to trust those a lot more and to lean into them a lot more. Because there's only one you, there's only one you in the whole universe ever. Like, and you can only do what you do on your own unique gifts, talents, and strengths. Like you can impact the world in a way that I never could, and vice versa. Right. And so it's more that this understanding that like, to do all that we can to do acts of courage every day, because every act of courage leads to more confidence. And the more confidence we have, the more ability we're able to do these brave, scary things. And you have to do brave, scary things if you want to achieve a life of fulfillment and going after your dreams and creating things that maybe people tell you aren't possible, but like they are possible. It's just the only person that can really decide that is you.
Yeah, definitely. So here's a question. Are you looking forward to, when you do have kids, by the way, if you do decide to have kids, are you looking forward to the first time they're old enough to watch that movie and then you say, reasons why this is Mummy's favorite movie, and I hope you learn as much from it as I do?
Oh yeah. I mean, that would definitely be probably the first one I would have I would tell them to watch, depending, you know what I mean? Like, who knows what I'll do in my career before I do have kids. I definitely am excited for that chapter of my life. And, it's scary, very scared, but also excited. And just hope to make more films and more movies that will hopefully be able to both inspire my kids and also, kids all over the world, and also to teach really powerful life principles that help them on their journey. Because like you said, right, I think film is so powerful, and there's so many more films right now that are so entertaining, but also teaching these really powerful life principles. And I feel like we just need more of that.
Mm-hmm. I've always thought that I was watching Gladiator actually today, and I've always felt like Gladiator, despite being as long a movie as it is, and some people might think, why is Gladiator so inspirational? It just comes from the writing. It comes from the deliverance of lines like Russell Crowe when he's, or Richard Harris, or the late great Richard Harris actually, when he says, "How do I want to be remembered?" Is that a question you ask yourself? How do I want to be remembered?
Oh gosh, daily. I think questions are, so powerful. I feel like that's a skill set, like asking yourself empowering questions every day that I talk a lot about. I think what happens is a lot of people get in a habit of asking really disempowering questions, and those disempowering questions lead to us feeling really disempowered. But when I started learning how to ask questions like that on a regular basis, man, it's life-changing.
Yeah. I've only ever asked myself that question once since I started going into podcasting. And I've always said that as long as I provide something that people enjoy, and as for me, myself, as long as I'm always there and people say, when I'm long gone, people say, yeah, I actually miss Dino. He was a good man. He helped me out a lot. That is how I want my legacy to be. So if one day when I do eventually give up podcasting, I actually want somebody to mail me on social or whatever and say, I really wish you were still doing podcasting because I really enjoyed however many years or decades it was you did it. That would really mean more to me than anything I've done. Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's life or podcasting, that would mean more.
I love that. That's so special.
Could say I've been a bit inspired by someone, you could say.
Yeah, I feel like that. Well, you know what? Some of the best questions to ask ourselves on a regular basis, I feel, because at the end of the day, everything about the trajectory of our lives comes down to the questions that we ask ourselves on a regular basis, and who we believe that we are. And I think the cool thing about life is that, we always have these stories, these rules that are running our lives, whether it's consciously or subconsciously. And when we understand how to ask these questions of like, who do I believe that I am? And what do I believe I'm capable of? And why do I believe that? And like, if I don't like my answers, like if I don't believe that I'm capable of very much, or if I don't believe that I'm a very good person, then the greatest gift of life is that you can change it. Right? Like every day is a new opportunity to make different choices and to start creating a life that you do feel really good about. And also to really question our beliefs. Like, why do I believe this about myself? Is that actually true? Or is it some lie that I made up because I believe something that someone told me when I was like 5 years old, and they only told me that because they were hurting inside, like I got bullied a lot as a kid because I was so different from other girls.
Right.
And so, we end up believing these stories that aren't true at all, but we believe them. And then we live our whole lives like with that story running our life. And so I think it's so important to like intentionally decide, who is it that I want to be? And what do I really believe that I can do? Nobody else. Right. So I think it's really powerful.
I tell you what does creep up in my head. When I first found out I got you, I was like, does my podcast really deserve Rachele Brooke Smith or not? I still think that. It doesn't matter. To be honest with you, I think that about a lot of people. I mean, I was so happy to get you, but at the same time, I was like, oh my God, I really like her I really like her as a person, as an actress. I really hope I don't screw this up. I was like, really wicked. But I mean, we're here now. We're happy. We're having a lovely conversation.
Yeah. And I'm so happy to be here. And I think that's so cool that you shared that. Because I think the more that we share those vulnerable things, the more people know that they're not alone. I have stuff like that comes up all the time. Like I'm getting ready to like have an interview for a new film or a new role. And even though I've done so much, I still like, we often compare ourselves to other people that we really admire. And that's one of the biggest things that I'm working on right now is, and I think one of the most like important, powerful muscles or skill sets that anybody could have, especially in today's digital world, is to learn how comparing ourselves can be so unhealthy. Like the only person I want to compare myself to is like who I was yesterday, like the only person I want, but oftentimes it can be very challenging. And so I have to catch myself all the time. I catch myself all the time of like, oh, nope, that like, thanks for that thought. Like next, you know what I mean? Like you don't have to believe every thought that you think, right? It's like, oh, thoughts are just going to come and go. Like, oh, okay, I saw that one. Next, like.
Definitely. You mentioned, I forgot. Hold on a minute. You mentioned relationship renegades earlier. Just for everyone who doesn't know about it, what is relationship renegades?
Yeah. So again, my husband and I created this company because when we first started dating, one of his biggest fears was like, oh, you're an actress. A lot of Hollywood relationships don't work out. And I was like, whoa, that's not true. That's just all that you hear about in tabloids or media. In my career, I've met and worked with and look up to and admire so many amazing, like long lasting, supportive, healthy couples, and realize that all of media and society, we just wanted to create a platform, a movement really that helped change that, right? That started celebrating all the healthy, supportive relationships out there and teaching people powerful relationship skill sets and how to have this holistic approach when it comes to relationships, and understand that healthy relationships are at the core of a healthy, fulfilled life. A lot of people talk about mental health or physical health, or just overall wellness, and without really understanding that, like, man, all this, when you look at like science and breakdowns of like depression, anxiety, all this different kind of stuff, what they found is that the core of that is healthy relationships. If you have healthy, supportive relationships, you'll be able to sustain like a way more like happy, fulfilled life, regardless of the challenges that you go through, because we need each other. Like we need support, yet we're not taught this stuff in school. And in my career, I had all these dreams, and I was, after Center Stage, I did Bring It On and so many other films. And I was like, wait, I'm like living my childhood dream, yet I feel so lonely. And I was going through all these really unhealthy relationships and breakups that just felt like they crushed my soul. And it was just this huge wake up call of like, man, you can achieve your biggest, dreams in your career. And you can make all the money in the world. But if you don't know how to create, and it's a skill set that can be taught. You don't know how to create healthy, supportive relationships and be able to have a certain amount of emotional intelligence and communication skills and listening skills and conflict resolution skills. It's going to be hard, so that's why we created the company, and we have some big visions for that company. And, we're really trying to bridge the gap between the entertainment world and the personal development world in a really fun, creative way, like kind of think like SNL meets Key and Peele, but for healthy, conscious relationships.
Ooh, SNL. Oh dear. Well, SNL isn't really renowned for its subtlety, let's be honest. But I get some of it. It might actually be a very good concept for it. All right, then. I'm always a man who sometimes isn't quite sure, so he would say to you, right, any chance of an example, just to give me an idea of what I would be, if I did.
Yeah. Okay. So we talked about, film and TV or even like YouTube videos, right? Can be so inspiring, or you can learn something from them. We just really want to create these comedy, and we've actually done a lot of like more live performances recently where we'll go on stage, and instead of just speaking to people about these principles, we wanted to use our gifts, talents, and strengths as actors and performers and stuff like that to be able to showcase it in a fun, comedic way. Because obviously I just love comedy, and I feel like comedy breaks down walls and barriers so that you're able to reach people in a way that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. And so really being able to create a show, almost like a comedy sketch show, but not just have the comedy sketch, that kind of is bringing awareness to all these issues and relationships, but then also being able to have the breakdown at the end of that so that you can we talk about the different principles that were presented in the comedy sketch, and then be able to help people understand how to better understand those concepts and how to integrate it into their life and into their relationships.
I'm assuming it's very successful.
Oh, I mean, it's beginning stages. So we're really just the side of that part of the company is really something that is definitely our kind of big vision of like eventually having our own TV show with that. So that's something that we're really working on right now. And then we have like in-person retreats in Costa Rica we're doing an in-person retreat in Costa Rica next year. So we do lots of different stuff, but we're really trying to go the creative route with it, and to be able to use our gifts, talents, and strengths as actors and performers and create both like TV shows and films and documentaries that really bring light to this issue and this problem in the world, but be able to do it in a fun, creative way.
Isn't Relationship Renegades also a radio show as well?
Yeah, so we do have a radio show as well. It's on pause right now, but we have lots of episodes that we filmed and we love doing it. We'll continue to do it. We're just on a little bit of a pause right
now. Obviously, you have Relationship Renegades. Have you and your other half thought about entering the movie production business?
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. We're actually talking to several different people and working on different. Like this, I said, would be the first kind of like a YouTube show that hopefully we, our goal is to get it to be able to be on an actual network, and then also to be able to create films, right, that tell these stories, and also really that bring light to all the different things that we can learn in relationships that really help someone. Like, man, I can't believe the things I didn't know that I know now, that like, I don't know how people do relationships without understanding these like core principles that again, I didn't understand for a long time. That's why I had such a hard time. And so anybody listening that's struggling in relationships, it's a skill set that you can learn. And as soon as I just think it's this proactive approach. I'm a big believer in this proactive approach of sometimes we wait till things are so bad to get help. And then at that point, it's just so hard because it's already so bad. But, with our mental health, with our physical health, with our relationship health, if we can learn to have this more proactive approach and put it upon ourselves to teach ourselves these principles that, again, we're not getting taught in school, but we really should be, then our whole life can change.
Life does change. In fact, it's always been a case of life evolves, and it's a case of do we evolve with it? I myself have come a long way in the last 20 odd years. Suffice to say, I have an actress who I really like. I have her on my podcast now. Obviously, I have a wish list, and obviously there are some people on it that I might never get. There might be some that I do get, but either way, I will never regret asking for anyone. And that is one thing that you can actually quote me on. I will never, ever, ever feel bad about wanting someone on my podcast.
Yeah, and you shouldn't. I love that.
Right. Just to finish off briefly, have you got any socials?
No socials for me.
Oh.
Yes. Of course I do.
Yeah. In that case, just let me get Instagram up then, which I have right now.
Oh, so funny. Yeah. So my Instagram is at Brooke Smith. And of course, you can find Relationship Renegades there as well. My main website, just rachelebsmith.com, also links out to all my socials, but I'm also super active on Instagram and TikTok, and also YouTube as well.
I believe I found a blue tick on it for Instagram. We don't have to have any of this nonsense on Twitter. Rachele Brooke Smith, Palafox, public figure, actress, speaker, producer, co-founder, Relationship Renegades. So there's more. 756,000 on TikTok. Congratulations.
Thank
you. Entertainment, wellness, love, biohacking, dance, fit, travel. Basically, there's nothing you can't do. Basically, no. just one last thing before we go, just to give you a little taster of what is to come for you next year. Let me just find that second question. And it actually concerns a friend of yours and a certain friend of mine, a friend of a podcast, I should say, Aaron Shonky. So this is what I like to do. It's called Why Am I So Popular? So let's just say you've been on a movie and you pick up your phone, whichever phone it is, iPhone, Samsung, whichever one it is, and find you have 5 missed calls. Now, usually they'd be from different people, but since this is Aaron Shonky we're talking about, you have 5 missed calls from him, and he wants to talk to you about certain roles he has planned for you in do you know what? I love Superpower Beatdown so much. I thought, well, hold on a minute. Why don't I get 5 comic book characters to test Rachel on? So, bear in mind, one of these has already been done by Tatiana Never, but nothing to say we can't do it here. So, Aaron Shonky would like to talk to you about Wonder Woman. Need I say more? Phantasm, Madame Mask, Morgan Le Fay, Lady Deathstrike. Which 2 would you phone him up and say, yes, I would actually like to play this female character in Superpower Beatdown?
Oh, Wonder Woman. I mean, I'll just say just Wonder Woman. Honestly, like that's my dream role of all time. And, you know, funny enough, I actually did play on one of the Superpower Beatdowns, but the comedy where you're like kind of sitting before where you're like in the audition waiting room. And I played Rogue, and that was so fun to play. And we actually did that before. I was doing that before Legend of the White Dragon. And I have such a, Aaron is, you know, such a dear friend, and I admire him so much. And I just feel so grateful to have gone to work, one, to see him build what he's built with Bat in the Sun. I just think it's so incredible and, you know, so admirable. And we had been talking together for so many years trying to work on things. And so when, you know, I just feel so grateful for so many reasons, to have gotten to be a part of Legend of the White Dragon and, you know, play one of the main hero girl role in that film. It'll just always hold such a special place in my heart, and, you know, just so excited for the world to get to see it next year. But ultimate dream role would be a role like Wonder Woman. Like I had a similar experience in watching Wonder Woman that I did with Center Stage, where I just sat in the theater. I watched it in the theater so many times. I cried every time, like bawling, just because I'm just like, and every day I ask myself the question, like I write down every day, like I want to embody the real life Wonder Woman, you know, both like obviously one day, hopefully on screen, like a role like that, but also like in real life. Because I think it's so important how we show up both, you know, in real life and also in the acting careers. But I really try to make decisions from a place of like, what would Wonder Woman do, you know, like in this real life situation, and act from that space.
I think you make a great Wonder Woman, although something tells me you might have to fight Tatiana to actually be the ultimate Wonder Woman, because she did a pretty good Diana. By the way, just before we finish, I do have a message for you to give to someone. Obviously, you'll see Kevin Porter at some point. Now, what I'm going to say probably won't sit well with the producer, because she has her own favourite of Batman, but I actually think Kevin Porter is the best live-action Batman there's ever been.
Yeah, I mean, I also think he is pretty freaking incredible. And also, you know, he is also obviously in Legend of the White Dragon, and we didn't get a lot of filming time together, like our characters didn't. But I'm just, I think he's incredible. And I also, you know, I haven't got to see the full film, but I've heard he's also amazing in the movie as well.
Yeah, actually, when we had Aaron on, it was quite funny because we've got our own Joker, Nathan, who does a pretty good Mark Hamill, but then you've got Aaron, who does a Joker as well. So it's kind of like, oh my God, I don't know where to turn. We've got 2 Jokers talking to each other. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I thought Aaron did an incredible job as Joker in the film that they made. I was just so impressed. Yeah.
Honestly, ever since, because Fraser was the one who originally asked for Aaron, I was like, who's Aaron Shonky? Now I can't imagine going on YouTube and not looking at Bat in the Sun thinking, right, what's Aaron been up to recently?
Yeah.
Because honestly, I was like, yeah, I'm going to say he's given me the best Batman that not so much the best Batman, because obviously Kevin Conroy, us 3 have agreed is the best Batman, but Kevin Porter is actually the best live action one. It's funny. It's always the ones that names begin with Kevin. That have Kevin in the name are always the best at something. You know?
That's so funny.
But it's true though as well.
Yeah.
Yep. Rachel, I am sorry. I'm gonna have to cut this short because I'm having such a great time. I'm having such a good conversation.
I know, me too. I feel like we could go on for so long.
Well, nevertheless, we will be back. We will see you at some point next year when I can get my co-hosts on.
Yes.
So from Mr. Fraser and Mr. Tasker, who aren't here, thank you for coming on very shortly. And one thing I can definitely say is you are a real life Wonder Woman. I don't know what else I can say.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That means so much to me. That means so much to me. And I do have a pretty big year next year with three pretty awesome sci-fi action films coming out, Legend of White Dragon being one of them. And so I'm just really so excited for the world to get to see them. And I know one of the questions we didn't get to talk about was the villain characters. And I do play a villain in one of these in a movie that I have coming out called Space Wars. I play the villain. Yeah, it's a badass movie. I actually just got to see it at a screening that they had, and we're winning a lot of festivals right now because it's actually pretty good. I'm biased, but it's pretty freaking good. And but I play the villain named Nina in there, and there's so many badass fight scenes. And I had to fight in these like high heels in the desert in this like crazy costume. So I'm really excited for you and for the world to get to see it.
I'm intrigued to see what sort of villain you'll be.
Yeah, I've played quite a bit of villains. I feel really grateful in my career to have gotten to play so many different types of characters and different genres. And, for a while, honestly, when I did Bring It On, I played like the mean girl. And so after that, I got cast a lot as the villain character. And I had to work hard to like get back to also playing like the main, kind of hero character.
Yeah.
But I love being able to go back and forth. And my hope this coming year is to work on more both action, because I just love action, but also comedy, like action comedy especially. I love comedy, and that's one thing that I got to do a little bit of, but I want to do a whole lot more of.
Yeah. Rachel, until we meet again, I wish you the best of luck. And to be honest with you, I can think of ending this part anyway, on none other than the future Wonder Woman when Gal Gadot decides she's had enough, ladies and gentlemen. Rachele Brooke Smith.
Thank you.
Until we meet again.